Hello, and welcome to Steve Barkley Ponders Out Loud. Together, we'll explore ways to support teacher growth, elevate your coaching practice, and boost student success. Each week, I'll share my own insights, as well as conversations with inspiring guests to help you lead with confidence. Thanks for listening. Observing classrooms with the wonder of learning. I connected with today's podcast guest, Paul Magnuson, when he commented on a LinkedIn post of mine concerning teacher observation. I had posted the following from a podcast I had recorded with Matt Renwick. Quote, "The question isn't whether we should observe instruction, it's whether we can observe it with curiosity rather than judgment, as learners alongside our teachers, rather than as evaluators standing apart from them." When Paul read that, he responded back to me, "I wholeheartedly agree, and even spent the last 2 years writing observations of wonder, not evaluation. Happy to share them with anyone who's interested." So guess what? I was interested. And I reached out to Paul, and I'm looking forward to a conversation around his writing and his experiences. Paul has created a research department at his Swiss boarding school years earlier, where he clears the way for teachers to pursue their own interest and to share those interests with others. He does the same now online with teachers from around the world in a professional learning space called Sandcastle. Paul sent me some of his writing, and I found this statement that I thought we could use to kick off our conversation. Paul wrote, "Here's the big change. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, I've quit trying to point out weaknesses, and I have quit trying to show that I know those are weaknesses. I've quit sitting across from younger teachers telling them what to do. Instead, I picture myself standing side by side with teachers, staring out across an education horizon that is messy and multifaceted and fabulously intriguing, one that is properly called complex adaptive system. I let myself get engaged in my personal wonder of learning, of the myriad of social interactions involved in teaching, of learners noticing what they haven't yet noticed." I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Paul.
Well, it's very nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I really want to hear more of your insights. And as I read some of your observations, I could quickly see teachers valuing those observations and engaging in reflection as they consider your words. What kind of led to your initial decision to capture observations in this format?
I think probably just the number of observations one does in professional development and working with teachers, and then just the process of getting older and wiser. So it's sort of getting a little bit older allows you to sort of back off. You don't have to prove yourself. You kind of find out that you don't know nearly as much as you thought you might have. You don't have the pressure to show people, right, that you're worth the time to be in their classroom and to talk with and so on. It's really quite freeing. And one of my questions when I think about it is like, how do we give that sort of sense to younger people working with teachers, right? How do you get a mature outlook on interacting in class when you are young and going to be doing it for a long time?
That really lines up with when districts ask me about they're in the process of hiring an instructional coach, and they ask me what they should look for. And I say, number one, top thing you're looking for is somebody who's really excited about what they're going to be able to learn from this experience. So
sure.
if somebody says, "Oh my God, I got a chance to have a job here where at least 50% of my time is spent watching teachers and talking with teachers," the amount that I could learn, is mind-boggling. It's somebody who shows that in an interview, that's where you want to move in. The person who's excited to take their 20 years of knowledge and experience and put it out to others, the cautionary flag goes up.
Yeah, be careful. Right. Exactly.
So, Paul, I really, really enjoyed your writing style. I'm so glad you sent me several of these to read. And I thought it would be great if you could share a sample for listeners to get a feel for what teachers receive from your observations. So could you pick one for us and just read it the way you've written it and handed it to the teacher?
Yeah, I'm really happy that you asked, actually, and that gives us some nice context here. This was one from English learners classroom, and I titled it "Sending English Language Learners Out to the Hall and into the World." Friday morning, woo, another week. Weeks feel slow and fast, both. There are 5 blonde wood tables in the room, new purchases. It's the beginning of a school year. No graffiti, no scratches, no loose legs. Matching blonde wood chairs and a card with a student name on each table. The large screen is projecting warm-up questions for journal writing under big words in the school's official maroon branding. Welcome back to ELA, Literature and Reading. The school logo is even in the upper left corner of the slide. This is an organized teacher. The door is shut, Mari tells me, so she can meet each student individually and have them put their phones away. There is light music without lyrics, I'm sure that is on purpose too, coming from her laptop. The students enter, drop their phones in storage at the door, say hello to me, and start journaling. Many years ago, I sat in the same room observing a teacher, Mark. We had talked quite a bit about giving the students time to learn, during which we as teachers are not teaching, or at least not teaching how we usually think of teaching. We joked that things are going well if you can leave the classroom for a cup of coffee without the students realizing you have left. At some point during that class, Mark left and got himself a cup of coffee. The students and I didn't notice. And when he came back into the room, he hid his smile behind the cup as he saluted me with raised eyebrows and laughing eyes. Mari could have left just now as the students were journaling. Coffee cup. Teaching by organizing in such a way that you don't have to teach, at least not in a lecture-y way. Next Monday, the students are going to present in front of the class. So when the time for journal writing is finished, Mari asks the students to get up in front of the class. She takes a seat in the back. The students approach the stage she has created in the corner, defined by a carpet, and asks them to walk across it and look at her. Just some eye contact. Then they walk across the stage again, now laughing a little, feeling more confident, and they strike a silly pose. The tempo increases. Mari keeps up the applause as they cross the stage a third time. They've been asked to shout out a hello, which they do. Hello. This is scaffolded practice to work on poise, on being in front of peers and others, on learning how to handle yourself when all eyes are on you, when you are the center of attention. A skill that goes far beyond ELA, literature and reading, a skill that will come in handy in any class, any social situation, any job. Next, they practice eye contact. Mari asked them to move out into the hall to practice. No chance to settle into your chair and get bored here. They try 3 different exercises. I noticed the students aren't particularly comfortable with this, nor particularly good at it. It's cultural in part, differences between countries, but there's more. There are differences of ages, of who has the power. Being in the hall, moving, look at each other or not, is excellent practice. So poise, eye contact, and we come back into the room. The students stay standing. They practice reading from the board without any gestures at all. No hand waving, no shifting from one foot to the other. Then they practice with just a few gestures that might help them make a point, might animate their presentations just a bit. After gestures, speed. How fast should you speak? Mari leads the students in some examples. First, they all read far too fast. It's a jumble of student voices. It's so obvious that this is not what to do. No one would present this fast, so it's a little silly, which means it is also safe. Of course we don't speak this fast. Then they practice presenting far too slowly. It's painful, 1 word at a time. Ugh, no one would present that slow, certainly not us. They finish by reading at a comfortable pace before reviewing the presentation skills they've practiced. Poise, eye contact, gestures, speed. Brilliant. So often we assign a student presentation but forget to provide any training. Then on presentation day, it is, well, painful. These folks won't be experts next Monday, but they'll be a little removed from being pure novices. Monday's class won't be painful. And I think to myself again, they are practicing in this low intermediate English class the stuff of life. The formal teaching, all quite informal actually, is over now, and the final slide is a to-do list. The work for the rest of the hour is clear and self-guided. Mari begins moving from student to student.
Oh man, thanks. Well, I almost want to break into applause.
Go ahead.
I'm so glad your writing style. I'm not a really high visual person, but the movie is running in my head.
Nice.
The whole time that you're reading.
It's actually rerunning in my head. I can so see so many of the things that were happening when I look back at that. Yeah.
And I have to imagine that exact same thing is happening for a teacher reading that when you hand it back to them, compared to getting a written evaluation report.
Right. I absolutely think so. Because for the teacher, it's a different experience than for me, obviously, as the observer. But for the teacher, they're seeing the classroom not from a student's eyes exactly, but they are seeing it from a participant's eyes. So what kind of thoughts are going on by somebody who's watching?
Yeah. They're inside your head as you're imagining yourself a little bit inside the teacher's head and inside the kids' heads.
Yes. And of course, it's not just any observer. It's an observer who's quite familiar with education, right? So that's probably helpful.
Familiar, but I guess the word I want to add is appreciative. There's a magic happening in that classroom, and you're appreciative of the magic, both magic on the part of the learners and magic on the part of the teachers. And I sense that's what you're capturing.
Yeah, and it's much more fun to go in and watch a class looking for the magic than looking for anything else, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have any of my observations where there wasn't some magic. There's always some magic going on.
For sure. Do you remember particularly this teacher that you've read to us, that teacher's response?
This teacher has really lit up the school in the first 2 years that she's here. That she's been here. She's written, she's got some things published. We were together at a conference. She's just really switched on and really, really appreciative of having feedback, right? So she's not afraid of it. She invites me to come. If she's doing something new or interesting, she wants somebody to be there. She's connected with a lot of her peers and goes and observes in other classrooms. So she'll actually follow some of her students to other places. Yeah, she's got all the energy that I wish I had.
And her response, particularly to this class, when she had a chance to read what you.
It's just that heartwarming kind of thank you so much for coming and seeing the good stuff, right? For caring. Right.
Yeah.
She I think was actually, I mean, she's so good, right? She actually mentioned well, do you think this part was good? Did they get enough out of this? Should I do this next? Right. It's that kind of response as well.
Yeah. It pulls the teacher into a reflection. And I love the appreciation word. I have, when I'm at a school promoting peer coaching, and I said, if the only thing that came out of teachers being in each other's classrooms was the sharing of appreciation for the work that a person is doing, because teachers working in isolation, you can get excited about your kids getting turned on, but no kid is sitting there analyzing how I made that happen.
All right. We say all the time to teachers, like your students need to feel seen and heard, right?
Exactly.
But so do the teachers,
Bingo.
right?
Bingo.
And
Bingo.
it's not the quality of being seen and heard if it's an administrator dropping in for an observation that results in tick boxes or suggestions of what to change or something. That's a different kind of seen and heard than a person who's really, well, looking for the magic, like we said before, sharing in that experience.
Yeah. It loses the link that the things that are in the tick boxes or the things that are in a formal evaluation system, there's a connection between some of those teacher moves and the magic happening, but that connection gets left out in the observation. As I read other pieces and I listened to the one that you read for us, there's almost a weaving in and out where at times you're describing what you're seeing and feeling, and then you give some hint as to how the teacher made that happen.
Yeah. And I can't quite remove myself from hints, right? And
but I think there's real power.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Oh, I think it's not
Yeah.
what you want to understand is it's a if you I used to use an example of a teacher like a magician. Okay, the magician has all these moves down, and they know why they're putting them together to make something happen. And so the design the teacher's using or the decision a teacher's making on the spot. I mean, we think of the hundreds and hundreds of decisions that a teacher makes in a 45 or 75-minute class. They're moves that the teacher's deciding to make in order to get the magic to happen, and the teacher's reading what's happening. So I think there's excitement on my part as a teacher reading what you've written, that one, you did see the magic happen, but it wasn't just magic.
No. It's probably letting somebody know that the stuff that they've started doing that's very automatic now for them, they maybe can see that thing that's automatic that I don't think about the fact that it has that effect.
Yep.
It's like, yes, I've really matured to the point where it's natural for me to do that. Like I wouldn't do it a different way.
I label that as the teachers hit the spot of being unconsciously skilled. They're not consciously aware of all those moves that are making this happen. In a time of difficulty, they can hopefully drop down to a conscious level and make a conscious decision to bring it back. But when it's really happening, it's almost like the teachers in the zone, as the sports folks talk about. The teachers in the zone, and you've captured that piece that's happening there.
It makes me wonder if the stories would be useful for someone who's more of a beginning teacher.
I can't believe you've just said that. As I was just having looked through your work, that thought hadn't hit me. But as you were reading this to me now, as we were recording it now, the thing that struck me is the power of taking that one that you just read and having a beginning teacher read that from an analytical point.
Yeah, I haven't thought of that before, but it's that thing of when you watch somebody who's so good at something and it makes it look super easy. Exactly. I remember writing about this in a different story, Adam in an IB biology course. Like, it's actually making me a little emotional to think about it. Everything that he did was so easy, right? But for a beginning teacher, they would have just said like, oh, teaching is super easy, right? But no, he was doing it because he had just automatized all of that teaching ability that he had.
And often you can reach the point where a teacher who's at that level isn't really helpful to the new teacher.
They might not be able to. It's like a native speaker of a language trying to explain how their language works. Like, no, that's not helpful.
I describe them as being unconsciously talented, I describe the difference between being unconsciously talented and unconsciously skilled.
But I bet it's
Unconsciously talented, you can pull it off, but you can't
yeah,
break it down into those pieces. So the new person watching you that doesn't gain a lot from it. I use the
right.
comparison of very often highly successful athletes don't make it in coaching
Sure.
because most of their talent existed as a talent. And very often the great coaches are people who worked hard to break it down, internalized all the parts, and so they're really prepared to help another person learn the skill set.
Sure. It might be really good for an experienced teacher to be able to practice breaking it back down, right? To
Absolutely.
know what they're doing. It might be also good advice when we say go observe somebody, right? Not to always send to like the absolute best teacher, but to somebody
Bingo.
who can still, somebody who can
Bingo.
still voice what they're doing and trying.
I lay that all the time. For most teachers, the person you want to observe is the person who's a couple steps ahead of you.
Sure. Yep.
Because when you go observe the people who are really now, it's great to observe the master people and put that picture in your head and say that's where I want to get to. But when you observe that masterful teacher, very often there's few things you can take out of there and go back to the point that you're at. But that person who's a couple of steps ahead of you, it's much easier to pick up what it is that they're doing that gets them.
Yeah,
Very
it's like
interesting.
it's like a scaffolding
It
for
is
the
a
teacher
scaffold.
too.
Yeah,
You don't want to
absolutely.
have the steps be so big you take too much effort getting between them, or the rungs of the ladder are so far apart that you fall right through.
Absolutely. When I was studying training mentors, one of the things I found is if you took mentoring all the way back to the apprentice days with the blacksmith, they identified that when a person took on an apprentice, it extended their professional career. Okay.
Sure.
And I described that part of the reason that happens is that apprentice takes you back to the conscious level. So that
Yeah.
apprentice is trying to figure out how you just did what you did. You weren't thinking about it when you did it. But
Makes
now
you stop and reflect.
yeah,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and takes you back. And now what happens, I think, is what I captured in as I read through your writing is the person is realizing the powerful moves that they made that they may have made unconsciously. And you both caught the powerful move and you caught the student reaction to the powerful move.
Maybe that's why the reaction to the stories is generally so good from teachers too, because it's a little shot in the arm saying like,
For sure.
somebody is recognizing the things you're doing, and especially if you don't recognize them yourself anymore, you get to go back and remember that you've you've learned a bunch of stuff in the job that you've chosen to do, that you're getting to be an expert, or that you're an expert.
Exactly. So as I read through, I pulled out a couple of thoughts that are in my mind when I'm engaged in coaching observations and conversations, and I'll bounce the statement off, and you kind of respond to it. Does it fit for you? You see it a little bit different, and I'd love for you to add your thoughts to these. So one of my thoughts is that generating the learning experience is extremely complex, and because of that complexity. I observe with curiosity. Very often, new coaches are asking me, how did I come up with the questions I asked the teacher, or how did I come up with the conversation I engaged in? And I said it's curiosity. I'm amazed. I'm amazed when teaching and learning is happening, and in my head, I'm reflecting on what is it that's going on here, and it's the complexity and the curiosity.
Yeah, and that leads you to be genuine and honest. And that sort of feedback is going to get you way further than any sort of dissembling, if that's the right word. Right? Trying to show that you have something smart to say is just going to get you nowhere, right? Being genuinely interested in looking for things where you're learning yourself, it'll get you farther, I think, with just the task of talking about teaching and learning, but it'll also just be far more rewarding for anybody involved.
In my pre-conferencing, I try to get teachers to describe the movie that ran in their head as they did the planning,
right?
And then in the post-conferencing, comparing what happened to that movie, and So I was describing that there's times that I go into a teacher's classroom with maybe three other teachers observing, and then just taking the three teachers out with me, not the teacher who was teaching, but taking the three people observed, they're blown away when they discover that they all saw something different.
Yeah, yeah. And they all learn a ton, right? By
Yeah,
hearing what the
yeah.
other people have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, but they ended up focusing in. So, boy, to do what you're doing, two or three people doing that, and the teacher
Mhm.
being able to read those writings back would be would
It's
be
actually
awesome.
one thing that I wonder about, so this is something I do because I'm a writer and I enjoy it and so on. I've kind of brought together different aspects of my life into one activity. But I sort of wonder, like, could one train? I don't know if train is the right word, but could one get other folks in schools to be doing something similar, to like go in and really do a I usually limit myself to like 40 minutes, or I don't start writing right away. Usually, I give some time and stuff, but just to go in and have that same sort of experience. You called it wonder. You called it being curious, right? Just
Yeah,
being there alongside. It's like it would be hard to imagine that somebody without quite a bit of conversation would take it up as a observation technique. Yet it's really powerful. Right. It might be like too far out of expectations about education and observing and being an administrator and previous training and all of that. Yet I wonder if it's actually not more powerful than trying to use some of the systems that we do
yeah.
use, or a rubric or anything else.
I'll tell you the comparison I made for myself as I read through your things. Um, in many ways, I think I'm trying to create the same teacher reaction that you are, and mine comes through questions and conversations, which yours comes through in the writing. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the pieces that's in my mind is I share my pondering and my thinking in conversation with the teacher, but I always work to know the teacher's pondering and thinking first. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
before I share with the teacher what I saw, I'm asking what they saw. What I'm pondering, I'm asking what they're pondering. And so you described a little bit in the opening piece that I read there about being a partner side by side. And so I frequently
Mm-hmm.
describe mine as a thinking partner.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just having more spontaneity.
It's a really important image. It's like you're not faced off for one, and you're not over, right?
Yep.
You're looking out at possibilities together, and more times than not, you're going to learn something if you're in that position yourself. Because, well, you said it. It's like teaching is such a absolutely complex phenomenon that we don't, we're making all kinds of decisions, and some of them are good and some of them are less good, and we just want the overall impact, right, to be heading in the right direction.
Yeah. For
It's a complicated thing.
for for uh, for me, and I feel a little bit of this in the things I've read from you. It's really getting people to switch their focus from teaching to learning.
Sure. Yeah. No, I
Actually,
think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
I work with one school that actually switched their word from teacher to facilitator. So they
Sure.
they actually call here's the person facilitating the science course. And they don't use the word teacher to describe their colleagues. They're
Yeah.
they're facilitators.
Often coach sometimes has replaced
Yeah,
teacher too, as long as the actions actually follow, right?
yeah,
As long as it's not marketing.
yeah.
that's
I'm with
that's
you.
nice.
I'm with you. So
Can I share one other
please,
example of
please.
like really how this has changed me a bit? Is I work with adults as well, folks who are either working on their initial teaching license or in master's programs online with Moreland University. And because it's online and because we have 1 hour a week that's synchronous together, most of my feedback is also writing. So you mentioned these stories are like written feedback as opposed to the conversation, and they're relying mostly on the written feedback. So too with online teaching in my particular circumstance. So I do an awful lot of commenting in the margins of Google Docs. And I have basically in the last 5 years really switched to like overwhelming wonder and curiosity and what ifs, with the occasional, after I feel like I've built up a whole lot of credit, with the occasional, maybe don't do this thing that I saw you doing, right?
Mhm.
Like, but most of it has turned into, for me as an instructor, trying to do this same sort of wonder in the margins like this. After a couple of weeks with a student, I start getting comments on the comments, which is so easy to do with Google Docs. And it becomes an asynchronous conversation. And then from some students, I start to get like separate emails just as they continue to like play it out. I'm pretty sure that if I were taking the approach of trying to nail each like technical thing that could be different, that I wouldn't get those follow-up comments. I wouldn't get a conversation going. I certainly wouldn't get the emails. So, you know, it's part of the life trajectory, like I said at the beginning, of shifting how I go about feeling like I'm being a good instructor.
It matches a sequence that I use of conversation, reflection, and action. That's what generates growth. So the conversation generates the reflection. So in my case, I'm mostly using questions to spark that, and in your comments and writing, that's happening. In your story, that's happening. So the conversation generates the reflection, and then coming out of that reflection is the person deciding something that's next. So whether the next thing is doing more of what I did in this lesson because of the insights I got, or playing and experimenting with some difference, but it's the growth that comes out of that action piece. So what you just described there to me falls right into that. There's a
quote that you see. There's a quote that you see often online of it's not the experience. You're not learning from the experience. You're learning from the reflection on the experience.
Yeah.
So generating that in whatever way you can, that's probably a good way to go.
Yeah. Well, Paul, this has been great. How can listeners follow more of what you're doing, or follow up, maybe even get a chance to read some of those things that you've written?
Yeah, I actually have posted all of these on LinkedIn, and they're all posted also on the International Educator blog page. So those are two places to go: tieonline.org for the blogs, or following me on LinkedIn. If anybody would want to be involved in one of these self-directed sort of loose processes, I have this sandcastle project that you mentioned. It's basically, it's like a course with no curriculum. It's like it's like a study group or a book club, right? Like you come with your book that you're working on or that you're reading, and you can talk about it. But in this case, it's you come with the self-driven teacher project, or what's, your current question. You come to our group, and if you want, you can talk about your thing and get some feedback or some help, or find some colleagues who will continue to support you. If you just want to come and listen to other people, that's great too. You can find any of that on my website, magnusonedstudio.org. And you can email me there too, if any of these resources are not things that you can find. Paul@magnusonedstudio.org.
We will put all that in the lead into the podcast.
That'd be great. It's so nice to talk to you. I saw you at an ECIS conference in Nice, probably about 15, 16 years ago, and have followed you ever since. So thanks for all your work. It's very nice.
Thank you. Yeah. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, folks. I'd love to hear what you're pondering. You can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn at Steve Barkley, or send me your questions and find my videos and blogs at barkleypd.com.